Welcome to Season 3 of Swiss Impact with Banerjis. I'm Sveta.
And I'm Ben.
The topic of Season 3 is Impact Investing, the new normal. Do you also want to do something meaningful for our planet and people, or invest with impact?
Then our amazing and powerful guests who are business owners, heads of financial institutions, thought leaders, political leaders, policymakers, investors, and experts.
Greetings, my name is Ash Pachori, and I'm the senior mentor of the POP or Protect Our Planet movement, and also a member of the board and secretary-treasurer of the World Sustainable Development Forum. Our primary goal is to mobilize the 1.8 billion youth of the world to urgently address the issue of climate change and take action to protect our planet.
This will inspire you to get engaged.
And in this season, we will challenge them even more to take actions towards sustainable development goals to enable a paradigm shift in the financial sector and way of doing business.
Watch and learn how can we, as humans, transform into eco-financial system which would serve all people and the environment.
We aim for impact investment to become available to anyone, become truly mainstream.
See you every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time at Swiss Impact with Banerjee.
Act for your future.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone, and to our viewers from Far East, good night.
Welcome back to week 10 of season 3. Our show is about impact investment. The theme of this season is impact investing, the new normal. What do we mean by that? Today morning, I was actually very early morning at 7:20 speaking at Russian Perm Social Entrepreneurs Conference, right? So even they are already talking about impact investing and trying to get Swiss and European capital. So very ambitious indeed. However, we really aim that the capital would be available to every part of our planet, and in order to make it a better place for all. So driving force for achieving sustainable development goals is impact investment, in our opinion.
Thank you. And although we are very aware that people from Canada, including from First Nation citizens to members of diverse small and medium enterprise organizations in India and Mexico are watching us now, but still, before we continue, a quick reminder to you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, not to miss any future exciting episodes. The channel, very easy, youtube.com/SwissImpact.
And for those who have no idea what we are talking about, what is impact investing, what is a profitable business with impact, you can check chamomile.ch. There will be 4 upcoming courses starting next week. You can join them. Of course, we would be very happy to see you with us. Ben, before we invite our guests of today, I'm really excited to hear their story. Would you share your story instead?
Okay, so all of us who read news is aware of the COP26, which is now going on. Before anybody asks what is COP26, it is the 26th Climate Change Summit organized by the United Nations, bringing nearly all the countries together. And COP stands for Conference of the Parties. This year, it is taking place in Glasgow, Scotland, under the presidency of UK, and I think Italy is also involved. I agree with Greta Thunberg when she said at the BBC, COP26 has been a failure and a PR exercise. Last week, I mentioned of the unbelievable promise made by 100 countries to stop with climate change. One just as important news did not get much coverage in European news. How many of you are aware that nearly 20 countries committed to stop financing fossil energy projects? And do you know which countries are on the list? United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and even European Investment Bank.
Wow, since we in Europe are so environmentally conscious and telling the world how to protect and take care of environment, so all European countries must have signed, including the Netherlands, your country, no?
Well, this time I'm ashamed to say that the only European countries who signed are Italy, Denmark, United Kingdom, and of course, Finland. But the countries which do the most financing of such projects, like Germany, France, the Netherlands, and even Switzerland, did not sign. And none of the Asian countries, which are the biggest backers of such projects within G20, like China, Japan, and South Korea, also did not sign.
So it seems that despite of all evidences and facts pointing otherwise, the right-wing conservative leaders like Angela Merkel, Rutte, etc., still think that economy is much more important than climate change. Can you please explain why and how the government supports fossil fuel energy industry?
Well, I can only speak on behalf of Netherlands, although I'm sure that countries like Germany have similar reasons. First, your question was why? Well, the Dutch companies have relatively large investments in international oil and gas sector. And how? The Dutch government supports international fossil energy projects, or this form of support consists of government guarantees and export credit insurances, like for construction of gas and oil pipes for companies like Shell, Boskalis. Boskalis is one of the digging companies. And without the government guarantees, these projects cannot be insured. And Netherlands is a huge player in the world in this market. So, of course, they are reluctant to sign this. Anyway, in conclusion, we often quote and speak of the countries from the north. On the other hand, I will highly advise our viewers to listen to the short 8.5 or 9-minute speech of Her Excellency Mia Mottley, the Prime Minister of Barbados, who spoke at the COP26. She really spoke so very well about the threats and the issues they are facing, and the consequences of our actions. By our, I mean from the north, which is happening to the people on the other side of the globe. And I admire, really, I'm speaking sarcastically, the stoic faces of the Western leaders when they just sit and listen, knowing very well that most of what they are doing or talking is empty air.
Yes, thank you, Ben, for this very positive story of today. And I also actually listened to the speech of Mia, and it's deeply touching how she speaks, in which situation we are now. And I also advise to listen to it. Let's go now to our guests from your country, the Netherlands. I'd like to invite the dear guests Frank Kroon and Dirck Gevers. Hello. Welcome.
Welcome, Frank.
Thank you for having us on your show.
Are you in Netherlands right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. I am in the Netherlands.
So I'm outside of Munich.
Oh, okay. Oh, we talked about Germany just before. Before we come to our questions, I'd like to briefly introduce you. And let's start with you, Frank. So you are a senior entrepreneur who built many companies, including Telfort. And Ben, did you know that Frank actually started with a team of 60 people and grew the company up to 1,600, having an annual turnover of more than 400 million euro.
I just knew Telfort, but I preferred KPN for my telephone.
And Frank, you did the same for many other companies like Viag Interkom, Completel, etc. I don't know all of them. And also you did such projects like WestPac, BT, and of course the Dutch tax office.
I'm very curious whether he worked at the Dutch tax office before all the problems started or after the problems.
We can ask him later on. You worked around the globe before starting BeMup in 2018 with the vision to deliver the most comfortable and efficient mobility service available. So you have 3 kids, by the way, on the side, and the amazing wife. You live in Leiden, one of Ben's favorite city, and students hanging out place.
Yeah, I used to be a student member there, but it's a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. Now to you, Dirck.
Yes.
So you come from South Africa, where you started your mechanical engineering career at the South African Power Utility and later at Unilever Margarine Factory. Wow, that's an interesting. And, Unilever is also promoting themselves as a very sustainable company. And at various factories of BMW. At BMW, you manage the department that is responsible for the complete body quality of all global product launches. And of course, your amazing experience internationally proved your organizational skills, leadership values, and it drives to build something new to the team all the time. You love to do sports, play the trombone, and learn new skills. Currently in cryptocurrencies, like your brother Johan, an old friend of Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, you live outside of Munich, as you said, with your amazing wife and children, 3 children as well.
And the golden retriever.
Exactly.
Almost like
Yeah.
And about your company, BeMup, we will hear from you just now. So let's start with your business, impactful business.
So Frank, Dirck, welcome again. And can you please introduce yourself in a way what I still didn't say? And what has been your motivation to start this venture?
And being a Trekkie myself, I love the name BeMup. Why did you forget Scotty?
Scotty will be with us later, so we have plans for that, but we'll incorporate that in a little while. Take some time, but we'll get there. Mind this space. So I got fascinated by mobility about 30 years ago. I was visiting in Thailand and didn't have a car there, but I got around with the red cap system in Chiang Mai, which was a perfect system, very efficient, dirt cheap, and it got me anywhere I wanted to go in a fair amount of time. So I've always been figuring out how to get that to Western Europe at some sort of time. So since then I developed a lot of large service providers. I got engaged with all latest IT developments, including data science and machine learning solutions. And I now think we have all the components available to implement an advanced form of that shared mobility in Western Europe and scale that up and do that in a sustainable way so that basically everybody benefits. So that was my main motivation to start BeMup, and we're building it from there.
What about you, Dirck?
My motivation for becoming co-founder of BeMup really has 2 roots, and one of them is I grew up in South Africa on a farm, and my father used to plant crops, and we would be dependent on the rain. We would be dependent on the weather. So I learned very early on to appreciate the nature and to look after nature and to develop a sense not only for plants but for animals and everything that has to do with in nature and how delicate the balance is that we need to keep. Also, my passion for engineering and technology started on the farm because we always had machines which sometimes were broken and needed to be repaired. So that kind of laid one ground stone for me. The other one is I spent the last 20 years working at BMW in Munich and internationally. And BMW has been one of the leaders in electric mobility with the i3 and the i8. So sustainability has been in the DNA of BMW for a long time. So this is something that grew on me. And I've always loved cars and I've always loved mobility. So combining these two for me was the perfect opportunity to join BeMup and to really build something that is impactful, that can really make a difference to the environment and at the same time deliver a fantastic service to customers around the world.
Mm-hmm. Can one or both of you describe what is the offering of BeMup, the company that you're building?
Right. So let's start with our objective of making an impact. We're taking that seriously. So making an impact in mobility means we have to scale up to mass volumes. And how can we scale up to mass volumes? Is by providing an excellent mobility service. It needs to be top-notch for every individual user. So what we are delivering is instantly available. It's as fast as a dedicated car, but much cheaper. So we will drive you to your destination always, 24/7. And with that, we are growing a multi-billion-dollar euro business. So the way we do that also means that we are accelerating the energy transition for mobility. So we are doing that on a near zero carbon footprint. And that means as we scale up that the entire human humanity is benefiting as well. So what we offer is a mobility service based on a fleet of electrical vehicles. We make cars available to any individual user who wants to go there, go anywhere, and we do that within 5 minutes. So typically that means that for every 10 subscribers, we need 1 car. And relative to what we have at the moment, that means a factor 10 reduction in the number of cars we use, plus the fact that all our cars will be electrical vehicles. So also, as part of our model, we are sharing our vehicles, so we reduce the total number of vehicles on the road. With the reduction of vehicles, we reduce the parking spaces with a factor 10, which ultimately frees up twice the area of our capital, Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, and a similar space in any other country we're operating in. And we will use way less resources for the production of vehicles. So, to be short, we have an excellent service providing a unique user experience for a reduced cost to the users and having a very significant impact on the carbon footprint of mobility.
It sounds very exciting. You know, impact investors love to hear impact and multi-billion dollar business. That combination is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a unicorn. And Dirck, you have to add something to what Frank said?
No, I think that's beautifully formulated.
Okay, so then we go to next one, because I know, logically speaking, cars are one of the worst possible form of investment. You buy something for a considerable amount of money, you use it less than 5% of the time per day, and for the rest, it is just standing and losing value with each passing day.
Exactly.
So my question was that, but still people want to own it because they want to feel at home, outside of home, a private space for himself or herself. That's why I noticed that car sharing initiatives like mobility in Switzerland did not grow as fast as people had expected. So what do you think of that? What is the offering of BeMup different in this way, that it will attract people still to get rid of their car or not to buy or invest in a car anymore and use your services?
Yeah, so our 3 main characteristics of our service are instantly available, fast, and cheap. So if you look at, for example, any existing car sharing offering, and you score them at those 3 characteristics, you will instantly say that they're not instantly available. You have to plan them well ahead, because if in the middle of your night you need to rush into the hospital, then you're never guaranteed that shared vehicle will be available. We are offering commitment to our users of being available on 24/7 within 5 minutes. So that's a big difference. So if you look at the speed of operation, we have a 5-minute lead time, but we'll make that up at the destination, because we park at the doorstep of the destination. People get out and do not need to fill in a parking meter, do not need to walk back to their destination. They can just immediately go about their business. So we are faster than even a private car. And then the price
But how
will be...
are you going to manage that, Frank? I assume that you will have to hire lots of drivers and have a lot of cars at variable hours. So how do you intend to manage that? Or do you also consider using self-driving functionality?
So indeed, we will have lots of cars because we need volume, but we still need about 1/10 of cars that we would need if everybody would have their own cars. So we have a significant reduction in the number of cars. We have a significant reduction in the operational cost, because we only drive electrical, and electrical vehicles are maintenance free and have a reduced total cost of ownership at higher mileages. So that is our benefit, and we pass on that best cost benefit to our users. Indeed, drivers are a significant cost factor for that, but we have an efficient model of scheduling those resources. And as far as autonomous operation is concerned, that would be a major benefit. But we are not basing our model on autonomous vehicles. We have a profitable model as of the start. And once autonomous vehicles will be available, we will be able to include that into our model.
That would be cool.
So really cool. That the people would need to overcome the fear also getting into self-driving vehicle.
I think that will grow on people, honestly, because it will go step by step. You won't just have a bang and suddenly autonomous driving is there. I think people will get used to it over a number of years. And I think we will see in the end that driving autonomously is a lot safer than driving yourself. And most people don't like to admit this, but most people are not very good drivers. And the autonomously driven cars will be a lot safer.
Yeah. I just a couple of weeks back, I drove to Netherlands, and on the way, what you said is completely true. I saw so many people who don't deserve to be on the highway, to be in the car in the first place.
And you were driving largely autonomously, or didn't you?
No. We are not allowed to. I mean, I have a Tesla, but we are not allowed to use the self-driving functionality yet, as far as I know. So what you said is that what I like very much about your story, that your cars are all electric, especially Tesla. And all of us love Tesla. So you will be contributing very strongly to the CO2 emission reduction. And do you have numbers to show how much, and do you have plans to somehow capitalize on the CO2 emission saved, like carbon trading, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely we do. Of course, I mean, the whole environmental story can only be told if you are using electric vehicles at the moment. Hydrogen powered may come at some point in the future, but we have to be pragmatic. We are building a business, so we need to use what is available now. And electric motors are the best at the moment. So of course we will capitalize on that. And the calculations for how much CO2 we are saving are, they give very high numbers, and they come from two sources really. The one reduction is, of course, if you're not using a fossil fuel car, but rather an electric car. That's the one factor, because during driving, you're not emitting CO2. And the other factor is our scaling of 1 to 10. We need only one car produced, where previously 10 cars needed to be produced. So even during production, CO2 is also saved in a substantial way. And our calculations show that during our pilot, which we are planning to do in the Netherlands with 50 cars, we will already be saving 8,600 tons of CO2 in the first year.
Great.
And if the scaling up goes according to plan, then in the fifth year, when we have operations in the Netherlands and in Germany, we will already be saving 32 million tons of CO2 a year. So I think these are really big numbers, which the public maybe cannot really understand yet, because we're not used to talking about millions of tons of CO2, and these numbers all sound very big. But that is a substantial contribution that we make.
But when you mention 800, how much did you say? 806,000?
8,600 tons.
8,600 tons. What is the total? Do you have the number of what is the total amount of CO2 being emitted by cars in Netherlands at this moment?
I don't have that figure ready now. I'm sorry.
It would have, because that would have put kind of idea about what is the size of the ratio we are talking about.
You're right.
I'm sure they can check that quickly.
It's about 2,000 megatons at the moment.
But talking about sustainable development goals and your impact, guys, so very important for impact investors to know what kind of what SDGs are you actually solving and contributing to. So what are those? Could you name?
Well, we've gone through the whole all the 17 of the United Nations SDGs, and we actually contribute to 7 of the 17. And some of the way that some of the goals are formulated, they are a little bit interwoven, and there's a little bit of overlap.
Right.
But the most important ones that we are contributing to are sustainable transport, which has the atmosphere part, which is the main contribution, but also resilient infrastructure and also good health and well-being. I think those are the three most important ones. And sustainable transport is obviously the main thing. We reduce obviously CO2, which we've just spoken about in a significant way. But the production is also not to be neglected, because there are factories all over the world, not only producing cars, but also suppliers supplying to the factories that are building cars. There's transportation of parts and of cars. So the whole value chain is producing a lot of CO2. So we will be addressing that. Another part is, I think Frank mentioned it earlier already, the parking space. If you imagine the number, ideally our cars are not parked at all. So if everybody in the world
in Switzerland, it would be very good. The parking is bloody expensive here.
Yeah.
Oh, you should. Netherlands is just as bad. Amsterdam, Utrecht is a disaster.
Yeah, terrible. And so ideally, we don't need any parking spaces anymore. Ideally, our cars will pick you up from your door, deliver you to your destination, and not need to be parked, because it will be driving on to pick up the next customer. Which means the surface area, which in Germany would be the size of Munich, or is it twice the size of Munich? I've forgotten. But anyway, it's a substantial space, will become free. This space does not need to be tarred anymore or covered with cement. It can be free. That we can plant trees. We can build parks. So we can even rededicate parking houses to residential space. Which brings me to the next point about good health and well-being. Because our model is based on chauffeur-driven cars, people don't need to drive themselves anymore. And which means on average in Europe, people spend 300 hours per year just sitting at the wheel, looking at other traffic. 300 hours. If you convert
with not happy faces, in nice cars, but it's with very long faces.
Well, and if you convert those 300 hours per year to working time, that's almost 2 months of working time. And you know how many books you can read, or how many FaceTime calls you can make with your beloved ones if you don't have to pay attention to the road anymore, but rather you have free time. So we are convinced that good health and well-being is one major impact that we will improve. And the other thing is, the offer we will make will be cheaper. It will be cheaper than operating your own car, which means you have more money left over at the end of the month to invest in a healthy lifestyle, be that healthy food or whatever, doing more sport. So you will have more time and more money available. So I think, I don't want to elaborate too much, but we address some of the major parts of the SDGs.
And what about in terms of finance? Why it will be cheaper? How is it possible? You have a chauffeur, a driver there, and still it will be cheaper than using a taxi or your own car.
But are you also calculating that how much? Say, for example, you take a village or you take a town like Leiden. Are you also calculating how many estimated percentage of the population of Leiden will be using your service? And also, if they use your service, how many kilometers per year will each of them be using? Are you making models and calculating on that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what we do is we assume we have a certain minimum number of subscribers for each of the cities in order to make our model work. So we need a minimum number of vehicles in order to guarantee our 5 minutes lead time and our continuous availability. As long as we are past that minimum threshold, we can just grow with the number of subscribers on a ratio of 1:8, 1:10. So Leiden, it doesn't matter how many people ultimately will sign up for the service, because with the increasing numbers of subscribers, we will just increase our fleet and increase our operation and just maintain the quality. The good thing is our marginal revenues will be higher than our marginal cost, of course. So increasing volume will increase our profitability, plus that it will increase the quality of service, because it's a game of numbers, And I can explain that basically by, if we would have one subscriber, we would need one vehicle. So we have a one-on-one relationship. We also need a driver, so we would be far more expensive than the guy having an individual car. So if we have 10 subscribers, we could get away with 5 cars or so. But if we have 10,000 subscribers, then the economies work in our advantage, and we only need maybe 1,000 vehicles. And that actually is when the model starts to work for us, because we only need 1/10 of the number of vehicles. That those benefits will be passed on as cost advantages. So we've done calculations. So we get at a price of about 60 cents a kilometer. That is less than
which is
the average
operating your own car.
So and that's ultimately showing a profitable business model. So and as soon as we grow further in scale, we will increase our profitability. So we are cheaper, even with a chauffeur-driven service. So we can provide everybody their own chauffeur-driven service without costing more money, and that's a big advantage. And you can compare it with the times you had your video players or DVD players, and you had to rent a video movie. So nowadays you don't have your own hardware anymore. You just rely on the streaming service to bring your movies to your home straight away. So, and that's what it's going to be like with transportation as well. We bring transportation to you. You don't need to operate your own hardware anymore.
Frank, as a user, I think many of people who are listening to us have the same question. So how much will subscription cost per month? And also, what about rush hours? If everyone wants to go somewhere, how will it work then?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So at the office time, if more than 10, you have 10, how do you say, 10 subscription for one car. But at the office time, if all the 10 of them want at the same time.
Yeah, well, even in rush hours, it's not that everybody in a country is on the road at that time. So we plan our fleet to cater for the rush hours, of course. So those are our peak hours. Then almost any of our cars will be used to deliver services. So we will be able to manage that, but we also have in our model an incentive to share the cars. So we have 2 different subscriptions. You can either have an exclusive subscription in which you have the car for your own party all the time, or a shared subscription. And of course, a shared subscription will be even more economical than an exclusive subscription. But then
how much it will cost those?
All right.
If you can disclose, if you can, it's fine.
No, sure. So the pricing will be around a monthly subscription for 500 kilometers will be about 300 euros. And you can use the 500 kilometers at any moment you like, 24/7. So whether you have to rush to the hospital at night, or you want to go to school or to your work, at the end of the trip, the distance will be subtracted from your account balance, and that's it.
About the video, I just wanted to say, I was few weeks back, I was in Delft, and I took my son to see the video take from where I used to rent videos. It was a 3-floor gigantic building. Nothing exists. Absolutely nothing. It's completely something else.
Are you sad?
Yeah, the whole videotheque is gone.
So video rental shops just disappeared out of the city in about 2 years. Really, it happened so fast. It was almost an overnight exercise.
Yeah,
exactly.
Incredible.
The world is changing. This is what I always like to say.
But I think it will only change substantially, really, if the service that we offer to customers is both so attractive, because it really just works so well, and is cheaper. Only then will people really adopt it, and we will get to the volume that we need to be able to really make an impact to the environment. But it all starts with happy customers.
Exactly. I had two questions on this. One is when, as per your calculation, will you go profit? Will you be making profit? Is it in the first year or second year?
No.
And second question was that how would you manage would you be running an AI or artificial intelligence or something to study the data of the customer and keep on improving at your services and making it better?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if I may answer the first question, our current financial model shows that we will be profitable from the third year.
Mm-hmm.
So the investor we are looking for now to invest in the startup will need to bridge that gap, because our profitability will start in the third year. So I think that's quite common with startups.
That's quite normal.
That's quite normal, yeah.
That's what the current plan shows. And I think for the question on the AI, maybe Frank.
That's more my domain. So indeed, our key capability will be the logistical intelligence. So we need to pre-position our fleet to meet the 5 minutes lead time for our users, because that's more or less a sacred commitment to our users. And in order to do that, we will gather data, we will train our systems, and we will have preemptive movement of our vehicles to meet the 5 minutes. So that's actually exactly what we are developing in the pilot phase. So we start with a reduced ratio of vehicles to subscribers in order to make up for the intelligence that is only in basic format available at start. But then we train our systems, and we will be able to increase the ratio up to a factor of 1 to 10 ultimately. So yes, we will develop the artificial intelligence to optimize our fleet relative to our subscribers.
And just one more, because what you mentioned, that your business or your project is a very much number of games. The bigger the number, the better it is. So are you also putting substantial part of your investment also into marketing? Because I think marketing will be a very important part of your business.
Well, it is going to be key, because ultimately we are targeting a mass adoption of our model. Does that mean that we spend huge amount of money on marketing? No. So what we already experiencing is that we have announced our pilot operations in a limited municipality. So we're getting requirements or requests for service from neighboring municipalities, from other regions in the Netherlands. So we are already entering wait lists for other regions. And so ultimately, we might have the same model as the introduction of Gmail, which was such an improvement over other existing messaging services that everybody wanted to get a Gmail mailbox. And so if we get to that situation, then it will be largely a pull from the crowd on incentivizing or driving the regions where we are going to roll out. And so a limited marketing experience, but we will have the number of subscribers at the start of operation in our region. So that's the advantage of our model, because we have subscription-based revenue. As long as we have a minimum number of subscribers in the region, we can start already profitable in the rollout phase.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great, guys. Really exciting. And I would love to be in that municipality to try that out.
He's completely in the north of Netherlands. There's only 5 people living there.
But let's go back to the impact, because I see that the impact will be huge, but maybe you can specify it a bit more. So what will be the impact?
I think one topic of the SDGs that we skipped earlier on was the resilient infrastructure. And I'd just like to get back to that point, because that's so important to me. If you operate your own car today and it breaks down, you're stranded. If you're sitting in a train which breaks down, you have hundreds of people stranded. Whereas in our model, if one of our cars breaks down, another one will come. So we are far more resilient. This network effect that we are striving for is far more resilient than any other form of transport. So this is why we really believe that we have a compelling offer, which will, not only improve climate and CO2 and all these things, but also just be more resilient to disturb, which will in the end effect mean when people want to get to work, they actually do get to work, and the whole society becomes more resilient. So I think that's very important. But your question was, I think, going in the direction of how do we measure the impact?
Yeah, exactly. What will be the impact measurement methodology, and how regularly are you going to report on that?
Well, the reporting we haven't quite structured yet, but the obvious things that we will measure is how many kilometers did we actually travel, and how does that convert into the tonnage of CO2 that we have saved. That's one measurement that we will obviously monitor to report on the quality of our service. The other very important measurement to us is the number of minutes to pick up time. Because that's ultimately what the customer is interested in. If the customer uses his app and says, I want a ride, how many minutes does it take for us to arrive at his doorstep and pick him up? That's crucial because, as I said earlier, we will only reach mass adoption if we have happy customers. And the minutes until pickup time are a key metric for us to determine how happy our customers are, in line or in addition, of course, to the usual ways of determining customer satisfaction. And another metric that we are thinking of introducing is the parking space conversion. So we'd love to offer this opportunity or even maybe a challenge to the municipalities to report once we've established our service in their municipality, how many parking spaces have they been able to convert to green, beautiful spaces.
How many years it will take to get some numbers like that? Because it's more long-term impact, I would say. It's not reachable in 1 year.
Well, the plan is to start with one municipality, obviously in the pilot year, and then to scale up to 2 municipalities. But after that, once we've proven that our system works, to then have a very fast scale up and to not only reach, covering the whole of the Netherlands, but also to spread to other countries. So yes, the scale up is planned to be very steep after the first, say, 2 years.
So it will take 8 years to get to a full nationwide coverage in any country. So we have a sort of a rollout factory in establishing operation in all the municipalities, which typically are about 400 in the country. And each cell will be the same activities for setting up. So 8 years until full coverage and until we reach 20 megatons of CO2 reduction in each car, or at least in the Netherlands.
I just talked about something. I thought if you're living in a small village in the north of Netherlands, and your car, but suddenly somebody gets in there and says, I want to go to Maastricht.
Yeah, ultimately we'll take that.
Yes.
So when we have nationwide coverage, doesn't matter where you want to go, we will take you all the way to where you want to go. So it's 250 kilometers, okay? I mean, that's why you have the subscription. You can take that for any trip you like.
Okay.
And
because the charge will be more or less, say, distributed based on the demand anyway. So,
exactly.
So in 10 years, you go with the chauffeur to Netherlands, to your country.
Exactly.
Yes.
But wouldn't it take the car? But I was just thinking, wouldn't it take the car out? So you have like 10 cars for the village in the north of Holland. But then suddenly somebody says, I want to go to Maastricht. So for 4 or 5 hours, that car disappears. It's off your...
Yeah, and another car will be going into that village from maybe Hilversum or Utrecht. So ultimately, that will balance out. And if there is some unbalance, we will preemptively move the vehicles to where they need to be. So that has been scientifically modeled. I will spare you the details, but we expect to have about 8% of our mileage due to the preemptive position of the vehicles that we need to do. So yes, we need to reposition some empty vehicles, but it will be very limited relative to what we do at the moment.
Exactly. No, I remember because I studied electrical engineering at TU Delft, and we have 21-floor building, and one floor was only about traffic studies.
Yeah.
So there were professors who are doing research on how to calculate the traffic and to preempt it and to think forward. And it's a whole department who is only focused, and I'm talking about 30 years, no, 20.
You're not that old.
20 years back or something. And so it is, I know it is an extremely complicated logistics model that you have to kind of control and play with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very advanced mathematics, data science. That's econometrists typically as well in that domain. So we need a specialist to develop these solutions. But the good news is we have developed more or less similar solutions for other domains. So we understand how to do that. So and it doesn't matter whether it was tax fraud schemes or say mobile technology for roaming optimization. So we've done that before, and I'm sure we can do that for mobility as well.
I think, Ben, your point is very important. 20 years ago, you had a whole floor of the university dedicated to traffic studies, and the question always comes: why is the timing right now the best timing to start this business? And I think it's also because much of the technology has evolved so much over the last 20 years. Artificial intelligence, all these kind of technologies are now available and make it possible to model such complex systems. So yes, the timing is right now.
Exactly. Absolutely. No, really, I would love to see something like that also in Switzerland. Anyway, let's go to impact and opportunity, because we know a little bit where do you stand now, but it would be great to really, if you could say very clearly, where do you stand right now? What's your status? And BeMup is not yet fully operational, or is it? And do you have already partners, clients who subscribed or who will subscribe once you start your operations? Where do you stand, guys, right now?
Yeah, so for the last 3 years, we've developed our software platforms. So those are fully available. So the apps are in the app stores. The backend is fully functional. The payment systems are in place. So that's all done. We have an agreement with the municipalities for our pilots. We have an agreement with Tesla to provide the vehicles for our services. And we have the blueprints for our operations. So everything is in place, but the finances for our pilots. So we are currently raising for those pilots to start with pilots of 50 vehicles each in the Netherlands and in Germany. And as soon as we have that, we plan to start operation in the April-May next year timeframe.
How much are you fundraising, Frank?
So we are looking for 5 to 10 million on the initial raise.
Well, if Ellen is on board, I think this is very good testimonial for fundraising.
Yeah,
he
just encashed 5 billion from the Twitter, I thought.
But I think he's paying that to the tax authorities, if I got that right.
No. Didn't you know that these guys, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they are known for not paying any taxes?
Yeah.
So
it's not the topic of today's discussion. No, but I see it as a huge business opportunity for any impact investor. And so can you explain a little bit the commercial side as well?
Yeah, so as we speak, as we said earlier, we intend to deliver these services for a price of about 60 cents per kilometer. So any calculation of the cost of an average car starts with about 70 cents per kilometer up to €1.50 per kilometer. So that's the all-included pricing of it. So we can deliver this economically into the market. So what we typically use as an example is what if you need to buy another car next year? If you have no BeMup available in your area, then you will just have an analysis of what kind of car you would need. Try to arrange the financing because you need a few €1,000 to buy your car, and go into the dealerships. So now you have BeMup in your area operation. So it's either raising a few €1,000 or 20 or 30,000 euros for a car, or buying a subscription for €300 a month. You get the same instant availability of the vehicles. You get the same speed in getting into your work, to your shop, to your family, and you have a lower monthly fee. So what do? I think
then it's an easy choice.
No-brainer, and it's no commitment because you can cancel our subscription at the end of every month.
Oh, I was just going to ask
that's important.
You're stuck for a year or 3 years or just every month.
No commitment whatsoever. But the trick is, so suppose you have a car, a second car, for example, in the family. It's not making much mileage. It's only used regionally. That kind of situation. You can actually sell your second car and pocket a few €1,000 and get a BeMup subscription plus a lower monthly fee subsequently. So actually it's a negative investment. You get money extra in your pocket, and you have lower monthly fees, and you have the quality of service. So that's when you sign on to BeMup. So now if you, for some reason, you need to cancel your subscription, then you need a mobility. You need to get your own car. So you need to spend a few €1,000 plus subsequently you have higher monthly fees. So you have negative investment getting into BeMup, and you have a significant investment to convert back into your private car. And ultimately that drove a lot of people from their DVD player onto Netflix.
Yeah.
And
thinking into very long term, Frank and Dirk. So imagine you got it done. The whole Netherlands is using BeMup, and the people are start selling their old cars. Where are they going? Who is going to buy it?
East Europe.
Eastern Europe, indeed. So that's going to happen. So the market for used cars will just collapse.
Yeah, that's
just like the market for video recorders and DVD players collapsed.
Yeah,
you can't sell them anymore, even though you had the most advanced system, say 10 years ago. It's worth nothing. But to the advantage of car owners now, we have the export. So Africa, Eastern Europe, South America.
Exactly. And are you only seeking investment, or are you also seeking support with business development, or seeking partners or penetration into new markets? Like, for example, I was thinking when you were talking, in Europe, we are already saturated with cars. But there are countries which still are not saturated with cars. And if they get saturated with cars, then we are all doomed. Countries like China, India, Indonesia. Are you also thinking about that scale, or you are still only here and maybe in 10 years or 15 years?
Good thinking, man. I like that because indeed this model should not be limited to the Netherlands and Germany or Switzerland. It could go anywhere. So our intention is to provide franchise services. So we provide the platform, the operations, the whole model, and we provide that to any other country to be operating in. And then we could actually also develop roaming services. So you have your local subscription in Switzerland. You take a high-speed train to Moscow or Beijing or whatever, or a plane for that matter. You get out of the plane and you take your subscription for the local tail transportation in a roaming fashion, just like you do currently with your mobile subscription. So indeed, our objective is to make this available everywhere. And if they don't develop themselves, then we provide a franchise construction for them. So,
and are you at this moment looking for such partners and penetration of new market? Because our viewers are from all over the world.
Yeah, so we are already in discussion with parties in Belgium, in Finland, in Spain, in Canada. So, yeah, we are looking for also parties who are looking to operate this model in their countries as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, your idea is not so complicated, and I always say all genius is simple. So why hasn't done anyone before something like that?
Well, it's tunnel vision. I can't explain it anywhere else because to me, indeed, similar to yourself, it's that obvious that we need to change it. I mean, Ben, you said in the introduction, so cars are currently sitting idle for 96% of the time. You spend tens of thousands of euros on it, so it's a disruption waiting to happen.
I think, Sveta, if I may add to
Of course.
that, I think it's always about implementation. I think somebody may have had this idea before, but hasn't implemented it. And we've seen now with COP26 as well. A clever idea is not implemented yet. And what we want to do here is actually implement it. So this is why we are looking for investors. We are determined to do this, to really actually implement it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's great. That's great. I love the determination. Last question, guys. The time is running. In your opinion, who will be or is your greatest competitor in the world or in Netherlands?
Very important question, of course, Sveta. Thank you. And I think we shouldn't only consider the Netherlands in that question. I mean, one of the obvious competitors is Uber. And we think we have a better offer than Uber because we have our own drivers and our own fleet. We provide reliability because we have subscriptions. We talk about club members. So it's almost like we are a family. We are far more committed to our club members than in the Uber system. We are also better than the car sharing, like Share Now, because our club members don't need to walk into the street somewhere to find a car. And when they return, to find a parking space somewhere in the street. So we think we are better than car sharing offers. Public transport, I mean, how convenient is that? And how long does that take? So we are better than public transport and we are cheaper than taxi. So the real competitor is not any one of those. The real competitor is the private car, your car. That's the competitor. And I think the convincing that we are doing now in telling the story is to make it clear to people that operating their own car is actually the nuisance. And if they come to BeMup, it would be so much better.
I think you need a strong story that people would not be kind of ashamed saying, I have no car, you know.
That's why I also found the story of Frank very good when he said you can sell off your second car and use that as, So it's, we are coming to the end.
Yes,
we want
the time
call
flew
to
quickly.
action. Can you save, Dirk, we start with you because till now we have always started with Frank. What would be your call to action to all our viewers?
Well, I think the call to action is there are two things, and I'll just deal with the customer part. I would just like to call on all customers out there to really think about how big of a nuisance it is to operate your own car at this point. Taking it to the cleaners, to the maintenance, to tire changes, and all of this, it actually is a nuisance and it is expensive. And I'd like you to think about this, how you can not only have a far more convenient service, but also a service that is far cheaper. So consider BeMup, join us on our road to making the world a better place.
Thank you very much,
Awesome.
Dirk. And Frank?
Yeah, we, as I explained, we want to make our subscribers climate heroes by providing them excellent mobility on a near zero carbon footprint, without compromise, without sacrifice. Being a climate hero never was so comfortable. In order to deliver that, we need a few superheroes who will provide the finances to get us off the ground. And like our subscribing heroes, the financing heroes will find the trip with us very rewarding. Let's go.
Thank you
I
very
love it.
much.
Let's go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both for joining us today. It was really amazing discussion, and we wish you all lots of good success with the project. I'm sure we will know how it went. And as a little thank you, we will offer you a membership on Chamomile. Just register and we will upgrade it.
Thank you very, very much for joining us.
And
Thank
for
you
having
very
us.
much for giving us the opportunity to share our vision with you, and happy to be on this event. Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank
We
you.
are looking for the right in Netherlands. If we go there, I would love to visit this municipality, the first one.
There's only 5 people and 10 cows there.
It doesn't matter.
Now we'd love to come to Switzerland as soon as possible as well. So hope to meet you there.
That would be perfect. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Frank. Thanks, Dirk.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
So, dear viewers, with this, our show of today, the 10th episode of Season 3 ends. If you like our show and you want to be kept informed, please subscribe on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/SwissImpact.
So next week, we'll be having 2 power women entrepreneurs, Karen Fuchs
Finally, I feel a bit alone lately.
with the company Sunheart Business Leaders, who puts ethics into the center of any business, in addition to impact, and Franziska Mesche from Sweden with the most sustainable sportswear.
So, to all sporty ones, don't miss that one.
Yeah.
And to all our SMEs, entrepreneurs, join the next courses on Chamomile. Thank you for watching us today. Stay fit and act for your future.
Bye.
Welcome to Season 3 of Swiss Impact with Banerjis. I'm Sveta.
And I'm Ben.
The topic of Season 3 is Impact Investing, the new normal. Do you also want to do something meaningful for our planet and people, or invest with impact?
Then our amazing and powerful guests, who are business owners, heads of financial institutions, thought leaders, political leaders, policymakers, investors, and experts.
Greetings, my name is Ash Bachori, and I'm the senior mentor of the POP or Protect Our Planet movement, and also a member of the board and secretary-treasurer of the World Sustainable Development Forum. Our primary goal is to mobilize the 1.8 billion youth of the world to urgently address the issue of climate change and take action to protect our planet.
This will inspire you to get engaged.
And in this season, we will challenge them even more to take actions towards sustainable development goals to enable paradigm shift in the financial sector and way of doing business.
Watch and learn how can we, as humans, transform into eco-financial system which would serve all people and the environment.
We aim for impact investment to become available to anyone, become truly mainstream.
See you every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time at Swiss Impact with Banerjee.
Act for your future.